Sway.
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 In the morning.
In the morning.
In the morning.
Shay goes by.
Wake your fuck ass up. That crust out your eyes.
Not only is he, getting this positive energy and positive messaging now, he's a great entertainer. Welcome to the show, Kirk Franklin, ladies and gentlemen. Hey.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, it's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you as
good
well,
to see you.
man.
Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. You know what's interesting about you, Mr. Franklin, if I will.
Please.
Kirk, okay.
Yes, sir.
Is when you
Thank you.
meet, when I was growing up in the church, I grew up, I went to Bethel Baptist Church in Oakland, California, as a kid, and people who was on the pulpit or people who was preaching the word were a little intimidating to me. As I was growing up, I always, was always that fear factor, and then, you always had to be on your best behavior.
Which is unfortunate, but go ahead.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you always had to dress a certain way.
Yeah.
And
Once again, which is unfortunate.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then you meet Kirk Franklin, and man, your swag, your style is better than mine right now. I mean, I see your shoe game is ridiculous right now with the jeans and then the sweater and the top, and you're very relatable.
Call it the top. He called it the top.
I'm sorry.
It's Gucci, Sway.
It's like I'm a grown man.
That's Gucci, Sway.
Okay,
But
my
no. The fact is I'm a grown man, but I got a top on.
You got a top on.
That's funny. That's funny.
But I felt like you were like one of the first to do that. Like when I saw you on stage, man, you could have been in the early days. You could have been in anybody's hood.
Yeah,
but then you were on stage. Did you do that on purpose?
No, because I was in anybody's hood, man.
Okay.
I was adopted when I was 4, about 64-year-old lady, man, and we were raised up, in really difficult times, standing in line, getting the block cheese, getting the, getting the tough, jeans and I had a sister that had a real bad drug problem, spent over a decade in prison, prostitution, and so we lived that life, and it was a difficult life, and I was 15 and my dude got killed, and when he got killed, that's when I got close to faith, and that's when I really just developed my own relationship with the Lord, man, and so we still live there, and at 15 I got a young lady, 17 got a young lady pregnant, dropped out of school, and for about a couple of years was sleeping in the car, and kind of got into a little bit of trouble, had to spend some nights, kind of locked down a little bit. So, my faith life is the thing that changed me, and I didn't change who I was, as far as I guess how I walk, look, or talk, but I don't think that that's what people should do, and that's not what I was taught, and I had some really good people teach me when I really started getting, trying to be serious about, a young righteous dude, man, that, man, it's like, God looks at the character of your heart. It doesn't matter about, and really a lot of them suits and stuff you're talking about, I didn't rock them because I couldn't afford them,
Okay.
And I just felt more comfortable, being, the kid that's, that kind of was dancing on the cardboard box.
I think
that's who I was.
And I think that's important because you look at people who are in church and you think everybody is, pure and without flaw or and without sin, and you strive. I was always taught to strive for divinity, but along the path, you might go astray. I remember reading something, and tell me if it's incorrect, but I remember reading something you said in an article about you had an addiction to porn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, I was raised. Not only that, man, is that there was some incest in our family when I was a kid. There was some abusive stuff that that kind of happened in our family. I was a little boy, and with and like I said, my little sister, there was some some rape and some things that happened in our family, and there was some ugly images that we got introduced to as kids, around about the age of 8.
Yeah.
And so from about the age of 8 to about the age of 29, I struggled with that, just not only pornography, but also being very promiscuous, got into a lot of trouble, at 15, paid for an abortion and, got into a lot of trouble as a kid, man. I got into a lot of trouble, and a lot of it was, trying to find that missed love. I think, once I started, trying to get right, and I would go to counseling and everything, when I was in my early 20s, trying to find that love that I missed from my mom, because I still know my mom.
Yeah.
And I think it's worse when a kid is adopted and they still know their parents versus when a kid is adopted and they don't know their biological, because it's almost like it's almost like a sore that never heals. You know what I mean? Because you always living with, why we're not good enough for you, and it just affected me more than it did somebody else, because I would see my real mother every now and then, and she would lie and say she would come get me, take me to the fair, take me to the carnival, and me and my sister, man, I'll never forget one day, me and my sister got all dressed up because she said she's gonna come get us, and we sat on the corner of the street and counted every car that drove by, because we were looking for her Monte Carlo, and every car that came by that was looking close, we thought it was mom's, and she never showed up and came, and took us to that carnival. And so my sexual lifestyle as a young man was really out of control, and I was just trying to find, just trying to grab onto something that looked like something, And I struggled out with it, man. And I just
how crazy did it get? Were you dealing with prostitutes or? No,
because I was too young. I didn't, but just being very promiscuous. Just living out of control and just trying to find that love relationship, and just messing up a lot, And so I'm really grateful for God's grace and for my wifey, man, my wife saved my life, my dude, man. She's a soldier, she's a beautiful woman, she's a powerful woman, and she didn't take no junk from me. She's like, look, I know what you got, going on in your life. If me and you gonna be forever, you need to clean all that up. And I had to call, relationships and say, look, I'm getting married, boom, boom, boom,
You had to call and tell the folks?
Yeah, man, and it's so unfortunate because, when I look back, over that, and it's like, it's unfortunate that so many young men have to continue that cycle of hurting our sisters, because we don't have other men to let us know that, listen, when you lay with a woman, you just don't lay with her, you lay with her spirit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you create soul ties all over the place. And, a lot of dudes think, they're trying to figure, you meet dudes, you wonder why they're crazy. Well, they're crazy because they run into a whole bunch of crazy people, and you look at a lot of women and see that they're crazy because they didn't, they lay down with a whole bunch of crazy dudes. And it's like, because, when you lay down with a person, you also lay down with their essence.
Yeah. You talked about.
Dig it, right?
Yeah. They feeling
y'all
that.
dig that?
Yeah. You're talking about being promiscuous. You never crossed like it was always, it was never same sex?
No, man, I always was, looking for that love with wife, from moms. What I mean? I always looking for that love relationship, with moms in my life, and and still don't have it. Yeah. And my real mother lives in the same city that I live in, and we never see each other.
I want to ask you about that, though. It's been a lot of controversy in the church about same-sex marriage, and I want to get your viewpoint on it, okay? Kirk Franklin is here.
It's Sway in the morning, only on Shea 45.